Hello, everybody. This is Jonathan Simkin. I'm really happy today to be joined by 604 recording artist Andrew Hyatt. Andrew, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. For those of you who've been watching the podcast, you know that I like to try and keep it as real as humanly possible. And that's certainly something I'm going to try to do today. So I'm going to be really honest about this. This is a bit of an unusual podcast simply because Andrew and I haven't really talked a lot in the last...
It's been about 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
And again, just full disclosure, full honesty, you know, we had a bit of a, I don't know what to call it. Like, I'm not sure. Fight doesn't probably do it. I think there were some things that had built up over a period of time and it just all sort of came out and it kind of spilled out all over the place for various reasons to do with various things. There were some issues about money. There were some issues about other things.
I would best describe it as two people who usually get along taking defensive positions.
Okay. I won't disagree with that. Or maybe I will, just to be defensive.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, when we decided to do the podcast episode, I was like, you know what? I think it would be interesting to just kind of, not that we're going to have to get into the gory details of it on here, but at least, you know, it might give people an interesting insight into sort of what goes on at record labels. And, you know, there is some precedent for this. Like I've had a couple of podcasts this year where, you know, like the one that comes to mind is I did a podcast with Michael McCarty, the noted publisher. And he reminded me that 22 years ago, I tried to sue him on behalf of one of my clients. And the funny thing is, I didn't remember.
Yeah.
I said, really? What was that about again? And, you know, it's funny, isn't it, in this business, and I guess in life generally, sometimes you don't realize the impact on other people of things that you do. And it was weird because I was kind of in the moment, sort of like, like, I love Michael. I can't believe I did something that hurt him enough that he's talking about it 22 years later, 25 years later, because it was to do with that band Len, Steal My Sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
So that was 98, you know.
It's a long time ago. Yeah.
So we kind of talked it through on the podcast and I was thinking about it. Like I was thinking about this. And I think one thing about what happened is that it's a bit illustrative of the inherent problems of combining label and management.
Yeah. I think that's probably a pretty safe, like, foray into it. Yeah. I would agree. Yeah.
So just as a bit of background for people, in the old days, and by old days, when I say old days, I usually mean pre-Napster, you know, that's kind of when the business changed. You know, when Chad and I started 604 Records all those years ago, 22 years ago, we didn't have a management element to it. That wasn't something that we were even interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, my old joke and my current joke is, you know, artist management would be awesome if it wasn't for the artists. But it's just a joke, artists. Just a little joke. But it wasn't really something we were interested in. But then Napster happened.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, you know, I remember saying to Chad, like, dude, we got a problem. And he's like, what? And I said, well, you know, we own a record company and nobody buys records. He's like, well, what do you want to do? Should we be doing those 360 deals? And again, for those who don't, 360 deals are sort of the standard still, I think.
It's like the bad standard.
Yeah, we've never.
It's like a bad standard.
Yeah, I'm not interested in it. 604 is never.
It's like a good way to ensure that the artists that you tell them you believe in them eventually hate you. Yeah. Essentially, it's like the best once they realize, like someone who has no education in the music industry and is just still has the shine on them. They come in and they're like, oh my God, you're going to pay for everything. And then they're like, oh, and you're going to take half of everything at the end, or you're going to pay me out whatever's left over. And then they get to the point where they start making money and they realize, I will never make enough money to pay any of my bills.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And when Chad and I talked about it, I had no interest in it for that exact reason. Yeah. I mean, look, you and I may have had some fights, but it's like, I don't, as a rule, I don't want my artists to hate us. Like what's the part of the reason I love the music business is, you know, it's fun for the most part. Like it's something I enjoy. And that doesn't mean it's always good. You know, shitty things happen like in anything you do in your life, but you know, it should in theory be a fun thing to do. Making art, selling art. That's an amazing way to make a living. It's an amazing thing to do. But I didn't want to have our artists hate our guts. And to me, the 360 deal was so wrong in so many ways. I understood why they were doing it, but I still didn't like it. And the sort of compromise that we came up with was like, well, maybe we should start an artist management company, because that way at least we can participate in some of those other revenues and avoid going bankrupt. But at least be giving something back.
Yeah.
So we're providing a service, because in a 360 deal, say with a major label, they're not really doing anything. They're just taking a bunch of your money. You come home from tour and you got to cut a check to your label. And it's like, what?
Yeah. If you make money on the tour.
If you make money.
Yeah.
So we were not into that. And so we started a management company. And the thing that's funny about it is, okay, it's inherently a conflict of interest. Why? Because a lot of the job of a manager is to make sure the label's doing their job.
Yeah.
So if it's the same entity doing both, who's going to police the police, as they say?
And it's, as from an artist perspective, it is hard for the artist in general to then go to the label and say, hey, you need to put your management hat on right now, and then also not resent me on the label side when I tell you that you're not, that I don't feel that this is, so it's this weird dynamic of like, you're trying to at the same time keep the relationship good on both sides. So sometimes if you're non-confrontational to a degree, which I tend to be up until a certain point, then you go, well, what do you let slide? And then eventually you or what don't you say? And then it builds up. And then when the dam breaks, it's a large dam. Yeah.
And I hear that. And I think, for the most part, I've always tried to do a good job of taking a step back objectively, to kind of say, I don't know how many times a day I say, well, wearing my manager hat or wearing my label hat. And there are some advantages. So for example, if Marianas Trench are like, hey, we want to go tour in China, even though we know it's going to lose a bunch of money, that might be something we're more willing to do, because we know we have that safety net of the management income coming in for all the successes in other parts of the world. And so it's like, I'm more willing to say, yeah, you know what? That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That's something I can do because there's money coming in other aspects.
Yeah, there's
of
a built-in buffer there. Yeah. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
But then there's other times where that's not the case. And it's funny because with you, there was that, I guess I felt a little better about it all, because it wasn't just us managing. It was also Dallas, and it was also Scott. And to me, that felt like, okay, good. Like that way there's more voices than just people at my company.
Yeah.
But then other things happen too. And boy, this is where I have to be careful because
NDAs. That's why. That's why. And before we get into anything, and anybody here that works here that knows me knows that even and I did want to say this before we got started.
Yeah.
In all of our interactions, be it good or bad, I have never once said, I've always prefaced it. Emily off camera can attest to it. It's like, I've always said, in all other aspects other than this specific thing, I feel that you and I have always gotten along. You've always been fair. We've always been very reasonable to each other. And I feel like we've never expected or asked something that is unreasonable.
I would agree.
So which I think for me, before we dive into it, it's when we did hit that impasse, it was that much more grand, just because that was the first time I think that it was like, it felt business over, for me anyway. It felt like the switch flipped, and I was like, oh, this is no longer my friend. This is now business, which I was like, I'm not great with that. Like I tend to convolute both of them. So it was like, I took it personally. I can't speak for you, but I feel like there was like maybe a little bit of rub there.
Personally too.
Yeah. And then it's just, two guys
with the big raw, wounds.
Yeah.
Trying to figure something out. And it was difficult. And, and I appreciate you saying that. Like I feel like there's not a lot of people in the business, at least who have jobs like I do, who have a conscience, and I do, like in a big way. Like I give a about being fair, and it's a hard business sometimes to do that in. Yeah. And, cause I know like when we were fighting, there's a lot of stuff that was like, yeah, but I did all this and I did this and I did that. Yeah, but I did this and I did that. And I think we're both sincere in what we're saying. It wasn't like I was just angling for financial reasons. It was personal. I was like, hey, I really believe that I'm right about this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And you obviously felt similarly as well.
Yeah.
And that's hard. But listen, I could be describing my marriage and I could say the same. I mean, any human relationship kind of hits that. So, but there were other complicating factors. One of them involves an ex-employee. And let me say, I would love to talk about it. But as a lawyer, I've signed NDAs and therefore I'm not allowed to talk about it. But I would love to.
But I have not. So,
well, that's that's a good point.
Yeah, I can say whatever the hell I want.
That is actually a great point. But anyway, the point being, there were other interceding factors, and there were other interceding factors on the Dallas side and the Scott. Like a lot of different things all kind of happened all at once. And it was unfortunate, and it happens.
And there is also the aspect of it where the dealings in the areas, again, careful of relationships.
Yep.
In the areas that I was unsatisfied in, unfortunately, regardless of my personal feelings outside of the music industry with that individual, there were ways that I was not satisfied.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that responsibility in my mind, once that person is removed, you're the next in line.
Yep.
In my mind. So then where do you point that? Where, so that's where it all kind of falls to you.
As much as it might have felt personal on some levels, on other levels, I saw it for what it was, which was really more just, we had to figure out some financial stuff, and we did.
Yeah.
And took a second, but so what? I mean, look, if that's the worst situation that you and I ever get into, it's not the worst situation.
Yeah.
I know people who, think about how you and I met. I mean, you and I met because of
I have an NDA.
Do we have any NDAs on that?
I have an NDA, so
do you on that one?
I'm not allowed to speak of it. You do not. So you can say whatever you want.
God, what are NDAs? Well, let's just say that
I was in a 360 deal, essentially.
Not with us, just to be clear.
I was in a 360 deal with, and again, to give credit where credit is due, these individuals invested in me in a time where nobody else believed in me as an artist. So I will give them that, and they saw something and they fostered it. But to what I said earlier, you hit a certain point where you are starting to see the light in terms of how will I survive? And I have a trade. So for me, I was like, well, if I do this for the next 10 years with these people, I will be in a terrible financial position. I will never survive. And it just doesn't make sense. And unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I had brought on management at the time. We went to them and basically said, I can't say how we got out of the deal, I think is the NDA, but I went to them and I said, hey, I would love to renegotiate this deal that is in fairness, because I am thankful you invested in me. And they basically just told me to go eat it. And we had already figured out with your help that they had breached the contract.
My help as a lawyer.
Yeah, as a lawyer. That
we had nothing to do.
Yeah,
and I should say that too, because
we had we were
I had
not
no
working
idea you're
together
going to
at
end
all.
up on
You
604.
weren't poaching me, nothing like that. It was like we were just trying to get a fair deal. Again, because I did believe that I owed it to those people to give them a fair shot because of what they had invested in me. And that, I try to operate from that aspect in the music industry relationship first.
I don't think that was a 360 deal. I think that was a 1080.
Yeah. It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. But again, we already knew that they had breached contracts. So once I gave them the opportunity to maybe make it right, they basically told me, hell no. And I said, I believe you called me and your exact words were, can I hit the nuke button? And I was like, hell yeah, brother.
So just to give a little context to that, early in my career as a lawyer before 604, I was kind of that lawyer. Like, hey, you want to get out of a record contract? Call Simkin. You want to kick somebody in the face? Call Simkin. You want to, I was a mercenary. I was sort of hired as a mercenary, and which is also where a lot of my reputation comes from in the business. Like, I'm a very polarizing guy. I don't think that's going too far to say that in the business. And actually, that's not even, I was polarizing in kindergarten for sake, but I in the music business, definitely. But I think a lot of that comes from my early, what I used to be hired to do early in my career, which was, I was the fixer.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a problem with a label, get Simkin. He'll go full nuke on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I had to do. And, you know, I don't apologize for it. I'm glad it's not really what I do anymore. I mean, sometimes I have to do it on behalf of my own company, but it's not like that's fun.
No, which oddly enough, it's because I've laughed to myself about this a couple of times through, you know, what we went through in the last 6 months, or the, you know, the conversations we had back and forth, having dealt with you in a number of legal situations, just, you know, having you advise me through a couple of things. There were moments where I laughed because I kind of, not to say, because I don't understand your brain fully, but I've seen the way
I don't either, by the way.
Yeah, but I understand the way that you operate and approach contractual obligation and blah, 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 and like holes and stuff. So it kind of made me laugh a couple of times because I was like, if John was representing me in this, I feel like this is where he would go for the throat, which made me even angrier because I'm like, I know that this is where he would argue.
Why can't I hire Simkin to go after Simkin?
Exactly. Where I was like, this mother, like I've done this thing where I'm like, I know this is where he would argue, but it's like, how, anyway, it was kind of, I found the humor in that, even in all of this, where as I'm laying awake in bed at night, just spiraling, I'm like, I could find the humor in it many times.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. But listen, this is a up business in about a million different ways. And it's very different to operate a company now in the current landscape where, boy, I mean, I don't know if you saw the story yesterday, but Universal's going public. Universal's
I didn't
going,
see that.
which I was like, wow. Is that because, I mean, it could be a million reasons why, and I'm not on the inside of that, but that's kind of a profound sort of happening. Like, just like, wow, I mean, are they in some financial trouble? Like you sort of look around just kind of going, or all the radio stations where everybody's getting fired and stations are disappearing. I saw Chorus let go of a bunch more people last week. We're sort of sitting here watching the business kind of break down and get rebuilt right before our very eyes. Pretty wild.
Yeah. It's constantly changing.
Yeah. So, okay. What else do we want to talk about that? Anything? I mean,
no, I think.
Can we say, just for to leave that particular point, can you acknowledge that you were wrong? And
I can acknowledge.
I'm kidding. That's all I want. I'm not asking for much, Andrew.
I came here for the same thing. So,
oh, God damn it. Well, that's a bit of an impasse.
No, I think, yeah. Oddly enough, I think our solution could have gotten there faster if, one, for me on my end anyway, it's like, you know, we kind of do this thing where we didn't speak personally for a while, which then it becomes kind of like a you, a me, you know what I mean? It's like that back and forth thing. I understand the why. It's like, I feel like your brain kind of flips into like business mode, where mine flips into like personal mode a little bit more. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but you know, like the way that we got to the almost resolution of it, I feel like we're pretty close right now in terms of getting everything settled. It's like, I knew that existed in our initial conversations, but the moment that I felt that you were like, I felt like it was an attack, I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna present this right now because I don't even know that the numbers are correct. I feel like they're incorrect at the moment. So I don't want to go into this and then get over. So then it, again, you know, I think we could have got there faster, and hopefully in the future, if we come to an impasse, we just go, I'll just fly out here and get face to face with you and we'll get over it very quickly.
I have a bad tendency sometimes if something, I mean, I have pretty tough skin. You have to in this business.
Yeah.
But I definitely have a tendency that if something's really like personal and feels personal, I can kind of shut down on something. And I think I kind of shut down with you. Like, and it wasn't like, it wasn't like him, because I never felt that. It was more just like, I don't understand why we seem to be speaking a different language right now. I don't understand why the stuff I'm saying doesn't seem to be resonating with him at all. And I think I just kind of went, I just can't deal with it.
Yeah.
I just can't deal with it right now. Yeah. We're not getting anywhere with it. So you know what? Like, I'd rather just kind of go retreat to my neutral corner and focus on other things and then kind of revisit, come back and go, okay, is it feeling a little better now?
Yeah.
Or is it feeling, and I even think at some point I kind of turned it over to other people in the company because it was just too much. I just couldn't deal with it. And I hate admitting that. But that's better than like him and I'm not, because I was never like that for me. I never got to that point. I was more just like, I can't handle this right now. Like I just can't handle it. And when you're running a company that's gotten as big as this one has, you only got so much space for things.
Yeah, bandwidth. I do understand that 100%.
Which sucks in a way, because it's like, I wish I could have been more like, okay, Andrew, here, I thought of this through, and here's what I think we should. But I was even having trouble kind of getting to that point internally, forgetting whatever difficulty we were having communicating. I was having trouble myself, just going, maybe, am I an I thought I, like you sort of start questioning yourself and you start questioning everything. And then finally you just kind of go, okay, I don't know what the I'm even feeling at this point. So better not to act or communicate if you're not clear about what you're communicating.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've always, for me, it's the retreat, which is, I come from a different mentality, and I understand that, but the perception, the way that I perceive that is perceived like doors locked you, which I understand now that's not the case. But for me, it's like, even growing up, like if I was in an argument with someone, or even now, like if I'm in an argument with someone and I have another task to do, like my circle of people and the band, they know it's like they will say like, hey, you need to resolve this because it consumes everything in me. So where you retreat, I advance. And then it makes the situation, it kind of feeds off each other and makes it worse. You know what I mean? For both of us. And then you're going like, whoa, give me a minute. And I'm going like, give me a minute. But you're saying the same thing, but it ends up being catastrophic kind of to both people.
Yeah. I hear you. No, I think that's there's some truth in that. Anyway, so just go and, after this and it'll all be better. I'm sorry. Don't cancel me, please. I've already gone through that. Yeah. Which is funny because I don't know what made me think about this today, but I was thinking about when I got into all that trouble with that tweet in 2018. I saw you, I think the day it kind of became big news, and we were at some weird venue in Toronto. You were playing.
Was it it was like what was it called?
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We were like in the backstage.
Rockin' Horse. It was like this, it's like a bar in Toronto.
Oh, but the backstage was actually upstairs.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right.
And
I remember walking in and I must have looked like a ghost because I had just that's when this tweet of mine had blown up all over the news even.
Oh, I remember.
And you were very kind about it.
Yeah.
You were very kind about it. I was like, so do you hate me now? And you're like, dude, it'll blow over. And
I mean, I hesitate to comment on it because I don't want reporters calling me again, but reporters were calling me being like, what's your comment on this? Because I think I liked the tweet just being like, haha, like I kind of,
it was a joke, people.
Yeah, I knew you were joking, but I was like, this is not the climate for this.
Well, I made the wrong tweet at the wrong moment in time.
Yeah.
I think that tweet today would be perceived very, very differently because half the world now is not afraid to kind of say, hey, aren't award shows supposed to be about accomplishments and not about where you're from or what the color of your skin is? Or I mean, that was the irony of it all to me, is like getting accused of being a racist when I was reacting to what I perceived to be a racist action by somebody else. Yeah, that's funny. I do remember that night. Is that venue even still around?
I think it's still a bar. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a fun place that. I remember your show. It was fun. It was weird.
It was very packed. It was like, I just remember packed. It was like low ceiling. You could touch the ceiling pretty much. The speakers were like beside the stage. You could kind of hang off them. And I remember that was actually, this is kind of random. That was the first show that I ever got aggressively groped at because the stage was kind of at this like weird crotch.
I did apologize for that.
Yeah. You did eventually. Yeah. Thank you for that. But
no, but I remember is that it kind of felt like one of those, it looks like a bar that you see in a movie where people end up having a fight. Like it is like, one of those bars you expect to see beer steins like flying through the air and smashing on the band, but no, that was fun. What year would that have been that we signed you? So Andrew got out of his other deal and he was working with Dallas at that point. And I think Dallas came to me and said like at some point later, like, hey, like, he's out of his deal. And I said, well, I know I got him out of his deal. And he said, well, I don't know, any interest? And I hadn't really been thinking of it that way. And I think he sent me some. I can't remember what it would have been. He would have sent me.
I think that would have been Habit was the song at the time. And we had just had 2 top 10s with the other label. And then that, so that would have been end of 2017, maybe 2018.
Okay.
Because I think,
God, so it's been 8 years.
It's been a while. Yeah. And technically we didn't do a deal until like 2 years ago, I think. Like, I think we just had it all got encompassed, but we just I feel like you had kind of said to me, I know you have PTSD from your previous deals. So let's just have a handshake deal. And when it comes time, we'll work out the details.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that sounds about right. Let's talk a little bit about LS4.
Yeah, sure. We can dive into that.
And you've been public about what that record's about. Yeah. So it's not like I'm, bringing up shit that hasn't already been brought up in one form or another. But I do remember you calling me about it. And I remember because you'd already made a record.
Yeah.
And I remember you calling me just, without getting into the gory details, that record sort of documents the breakdown of a marital relationship for Andrew. And I remember you were in a bad way, which of course anybody would be in a bad way when something like that happens. But I remember you calling me and just kind of being like, I need to address what's happened to me in my music.
Yeah.
Like, would it be okay? I know I've made a record, but I kind of feel like I need to get this out of my system. Yeah. Is that accurate? Is that sort of?
Yeah. It was kind of like, hey, I've always tried to the best of my ability to release music or be putting out music that felt true to like what I was going through. Cause I've always felt like if I'm connecting with something, then other people will connect with it. And yeah, basically I wrote 5 songs over 5 weeks after kind of the decision that my marriage was going to end after a very short marriage, but a very long relationship. And yeah, I sat down with Emily Reed, actually, who's another amazing Canadian writer, but she's killing it in LA and she just moved to Nashville. But yeah, we just worked through every week. We just worked through whatever emotions I was going through. And I got to the end of it. And I think I actually sent you guys maybe some demos. And I just said, like, I don't know if I actually want to release this stuff, but I also feel like maybe we should release it. It's not, it's not really on brand for what we've been doing, but yeah, we put it out and I feel like it's been a great foundational building block. It kind of like set the tone for the next few years. Yeah. And it just kind of,
I was curious about that. Like I was curious.
Yeah.
That's where I was kind of going to go with this was like, you do something in the moment because you're like, so broken up about something and you kind of feel like the only way I'm going to get unbroken is if I somehow express this and get it out of my, looking back, any regrets about that you sort of documented your personal life in such a sort of heart on your sleeve, kind of laying it all out in that kind of fashion?
I mean, I would say that, there is 2 sides to every story. So I think in the hurt, like I went pretty hard in the paint, like putting your ex-wife's name in a song that gets played 6 times a day in your hometown for 3 months doesn't make you the most popular among her friend circle. But yeah, I don't regret it. I think I said what I needed to say, but if there was 12 songs instead of 5 or 6, there probably would have been some room to shoulder some of the blame there. So in that way, you kind of get perspective on it. And really that I was just angry at the time. So I put this record out and I told the truth. But it's one side of the entire truth. And I don't really have regret about it. I feel like career wise, we did this and then we've got this 10-year war project that we're working on now. And what that meant is that we didn't really put a radio single out, which is kind of how you make a living in Canada, specifically as an artist. It's like very essential. But what I have seen and what we are seeing is that it's kind of built this, a pretty solid foundation, I feel anyway, in terms of an artist. It's like, I can go out and play songs on an acoustic guitar. I can play small rooms that we're starting to build. If it's 150 people, the first time it's 200 the second time. And we're working up those numbers slowly. And I just feel like we had been struggling a little bit at radio for other reasons.
Yeah.
With a disagreement with a radio guy on one of the corners of Canada. I don't think he appreciated my comments at one point in time. So I feel like we didn't get the ads there for a while. I was blunt about some of his comments, which I felt were a little sexist and whatnot. And, but looking back, I think that it's kind of cemented me, at least from what I can tell, as like someone who is not just a guy who's out there singing songs he doesn't care about. It's like someone who can write songs that are real, that connect. And at the shows, without the support of radio, on most of those songs, we've seen delightful support on certain of the songs that's streaming, and I'm very thankful for that. But I see people singing word for word. You know, if you have a room of 150 people and you're on an acoustic guitar in this intimate setting, it's like, that's not massive, but all of those people have paid maybe $40 a ticket, and each of them is going to spend another 40, maybe 85% of them have spent $40 to $60 in merchandise. And suddenly you go, okay, well, if I do this every night on a tour, it's a viable living. So it kind of changed my mindset in a roundabout way to like, how do we build a hard ticket market that basically cuts out everything else so that everything else is bonus when it comes in?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting because it also speaks to, like, radio's still important. There's absolutely so no doubt about it, but it's less important.
Yeah.
And there are ways of making a living. It's more important in country than in other sort of genres, I think, right now. But it's, you see it. And I mean, there's a reason chorus is laying people off and Bell's closing stations, and because people aren't listening.
Yeah.
They just aren't listening, you know? So, but one thing I think is interesting is like, so this happened. When did we put out Ellis for? Like 5 years, 4 years?
It would have been 20. I think we dropped it in 2023 in December.
Okay. So
I think or the EP might have come out the year after, like just at the beginning of the year. But the first single, actually, this is a savage, and it wasn't, I would like to go on the record, this was not my intention. This happened by accident. You guys sent me the release date, and it was December 1st, which is my ex-wife's birthday. And the song had her name in it, and it went to radio. And it was like, I didn't do that on purpose. It was just kind of like,
did.
Yeah.
I was trying to be a bro.
Yeah. It was just kind of a bit of a crazy coincidence. And anyway, so that would have been the end of 2023.
Okay, so it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
Is it different singing those songs now? Like when you sing those songs now, because listen, you're clearly past it.
Yeah,
I mean, it happened. It was a drag. It sucked. Yeah. And now it's a couple of years later. Is it different singing these songs now than it was when they first came out?
Yeah, there's definitely less, like, I think there's more clarity. Like I've gotten, you know, you can't see the forest for the trees. Well, I can see the forest now, and I can, you know, I'm less angry in what I'm saying, and I think there's more grace there for what happened and why it happened. And, you know, just after you kind of go through the phase, you know, we toured, and that record was kind of a thing, and the crowd in certain cities is like chanting like Lisa at the top of their lungs. God. And it's like, at some point a switch goes off and you go, okay, this is still a human being. This is like, there's intricacies here. And it's like, I understand. It's like, let's get rid of that. Divorce happens, people change, people want different things. Sometimes communication breakdowns happen in a relationship, and you have a hard time saying what you want, and you just end up down a road, and you get to the end of it.
Sorry,
you're
talking about her or you and me?
Well, this is our marriage.
Jeez, thinking about it, I should be happy that there wasn't a you Simkin song. Yeah. Maybe there still is one.
Well, the next record's called Contractual Obligation. So no, I'm just kidding. But no, so yeah, I don't regret it. I think it's like, you know, doing it now, I tend to shy away from some of the songs, or I introduce them differently. And I am thankful. I feel like people have connected with those songs in a way that I could have never imagined.
Yeah.
The amount of people, like, especially men, which is like 74% of my market is women, and it's between the ages of like 26 and 41. And the amount of men that I get messages from who are like, hey man, like I'm down bad right now. Like I'm in a bad way. And this song is like bringing me back to life. Like they can see it. So that's been kind of nice. Cause I feel like that's not a support group that is loud and proud and out there. You know, it's like the men are kind of left behind, I think, sometimes in terms of like dealing with the emotional.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
okay. Well, that's interesting. Boy, do I want to ask this? Cause I'm so curious. I'm going to ask.
No, you go ahead.
Did you ever hear from her about her reaction to it? Do you have any idea what her take on it? Was she angry? Did any friends be like, oh man, she is so pissed that you did that?
No, we never spoke, but there is a line. So there's a story here, which again, this is not I don't even know that dude's name. Like the guy she ended up with. I don't know. I have no idea. Like I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. I know what his truck looks like. That's it.
Yeah.
And so when it all kind of happened, when there was things going on, there was some mistruths being told. I called a buddy of mine because someone had snapped a picture of his truck at the house, and we had agreed, you know, for better or worse, no one's going to be at this house, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, I can't remember the exact timeline, but so I called a buddy who was a cop, and I was like, hey, this is my best friend. He stood in my wedding. I was like, I need you to run this plate for me. And, you know, it's like a weird ask because it puts him in a weird spot, but he's from out of town. And so he's like, leave it with me. He knows me well enough to know I'm going to cool off, but I don't know this. So then I call him like an hour later, and I'm like, you know what, man? I'm just going to believe her that it's her friend's dad's truck and they're moving into their new store, yada, yada. I'm like, I don't actually want to know. And he said, okay. He's like, as your friend, I'm going to tell you this. He goes, without saying too much or like sewering myself, if you guys stay together, like if it was me, don't believe her. And I took that as he ran the plates, but he doesn't want to get in. So then I write this song, and the second verse is, I knew his name while you still denied because my friend ran the plates of that truck in our drive.
Ouch.
Did he have his way in a bed that was mine? I went through hell just to find. So that, and then L is for blah, 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 and then her name. So I'm on the second day of a tour, and this song is out. It had just gone to, I think we took it to radio, or like certain stations had asked for it. We didn't actually deliver it, but people who knew me, they thought it was a good song, like Dana. And anyway, so it ends up playing. This man is in the trades, and it's playing, I'm sure, on radio. I knew for a fact at one point it was 5 or 6 times on radio in repeat, blah, 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 or like in over a couple days, and this goes on for a few months. Anyway, I get a call from my best friend who is the police officer while I'm on tour, and we're 5 or 6 days away from playing my hometown. And he goes, I have to tell you a story. And so he gets pulled into his sergeant's office, and the sergeant goes, hey man, did you run the plates of a guy who lives in Sudbury? And he goes, no, why? And he goes, well, he's filed a Freedom of Information Act. So he spent X amount of money. This guy who slept with my wife in my bed that I built before I left for whatever reason, files a Freedom of Information Act. And the best part is my buddy's like, no, I didn't run the plates, but I believed that he had run the plates. So then essentially, like, the sergeant hears the whole story and gets to call the guy, and he's like buddies with my buddy. So he gets to go like, basically like, you dude, like, no, we didn't do that. There's proof of it, blah, blah, blah. So this guy spent money for no reason. But then I'm like the most petty dude in the world at this point. Like it's like Tom and then me, you know, it's like, that's how petty I am.
Yeah.
And so I have this picture of this guy's truck in my driveway. So I call a graphic designer friend and I say, put that truck on a shirt that says living rent free in your head since the date that it happens. And there's a badge and then Andrew Hyatt across the front.
Nice.
I get 100 of those made for my hometown show. We sold out of the shirts before I got on stage. So then this guy, it's just like funny to me. It's like, that's the level of petty, but also like him doing that. I'm like, it's kind of a bold, like trying to make a comeback, and who knows what he knows. But in my mind, I'm like, buddy, like I sold those shirts, I think for like $50 a pop.
Yes.
So it's like, thank you for making me money and also wasting your money trying to get this Freedom of Information Act thing. It's like, it was kind of funny. Anyway, that's my story. And
do you still have, like, you have family still in Sudbury?
Yeah. My brother actually is having a kid like right now.
Oh,
his wife is in hospital. So my brother lives there, my mom, my stepdad, and then my dad lives in Tremblant. My sister lives in Ottawa.
I've spent a little time there.
You have family up there too, right?
We do have family there. Yeah. My wife's first cousin lives there.
Yeah.
And we went to their wedding. This got to be 10 years ago or more. And it was interesting because the guy the groom was friends with a lot of hockey players.
Yeah.
So like Andrew Desjardins.
Yeah.
Because he's a Sudbury.
Yeah. Him, like the Foligno boys. Nick and Marcus Foligno are from up there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a funny place. Like I liked it. Like and you know, when I do these crazy cross country drives, I'll often stay in Sudbury, and there's, you know, everybody knows the giant nickel thing and all that crap. But I mean, there's some interesting weird about that place. Like, I remember mentioning this to you once, and I don't think it quite resonated or whatever, but twice I've ended up there during the season when those giant bugs are everywhere. What are those things?
It's either pine beetles
I don't think it was.
or June bugs.
I think they're June
Do they
bugs.
have long antennas?
Yeah, and
So
it's like,
so those are the pine bugs then.
well, you go to the
Yeah.
hotel and it's like the entire door of the hotel's covered in these bugs.
It's like 2 weeks of that, and it cycles, and it gets really bad sometimes.
Yeah,
and they come out of
and they're
nowhere.
harmless, I believe, but maybe they're not harmless to trees. But.
So the June bugs are big, and they're like a circle when they're flying, and those are like just harmless. But the pine bugs, if you piss them off, they have big pinchers on them, and they will bite you. So yeah. Okay, but it's funny. Yeah, we actually talked about that after I met. Is it your niece you said that lives there?
My wife's first cousin.
Yeah, so your first cousin. Oddly enough, I met her at Nick Foligno's house. I did a party for them once.
Oh, that's
like a private play, and I met her, and that's how we got on that topic. Yeah, the world is very small.
Yeah, it sure is. At least Canada is. Holy shit. And how much time do you spend there now?
Well, I've been back there for I came back, I think 8 weeks ago, basically the end of May. So however long ago that is. I just with shows specifically, it's hard because I have the dog. So it's easier for me to fly in and out of Toronto when we're playing all these Canadian festivals. So I can leave the dog with my parents.
You have a place in Toronto, right?
No, I've got a place. I got a place in Nashville.
Right.
I've got a rental there that I technically is just a vacation home. I'm there less than 6 months a year. And then when I'm in Sudbury, it's hilarious because the house that I lived in prior to getting married, or prior to moving into a place with my ex, that house is it's like a time capsule. Like everything from when I lived there with one of my best friends is it's still the same. So that's where I stay. And it's like my bedroom, and it's still the same bedroom that it was when I left. So sometimes I'm like, what am I doing with my life here? I'm like, this is 10 years later and I'm in a loop, but it's awesome. They're the best guys, and they let me crash, and they let my dog get dog hair all over their house, and they love her to death. So
what's it been like in the US living there since all the Trump stuff? And does it
honestly
feel the same when you're there?
Honestly, I feel like nothing has changed. If you're there, it's like, if you're not turning the news on, it's like, it's the same thing. I mean, Nashville may be an anomaly when I'm there, just because it is, it's kind of a melting pot of artists from all over. So everyone's kind of focused on one thing. But it doesn't feel, maybe because I have no skin in the game, but it doesn't feel political to me when I'm there in terms of relationships with people, or, people have strong opinions, but I'm cool either way. If you're good, if you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. And
I'm just so I find I'm really this, I keep peculiar hours. I like to work super late, and, you've probably gotten 8 million emails from me at 4 a.m. and, as everybody in my life, but, I'll do an 8-hour shift, at night. And, if I'm stressing about something, or if I just need a mental break, I used to like to click on, just go to Google News and see. It's the last thing I want to do now. It's like, Israel bombs Gaza again, and a synagogue gets attacked, and Trump did this and Trump did that, and Jesus Christ, I just find that it's the world feels very menacing these days. I mean, in a weird kind of way, it makes me feel art is more important now than maybe it has been in my lifetime. I know I personally escape through art constantly. I'd much rather at night listen to music if I'm taking a break than look at anything on the internet, because the internet is just so goddamn toxic. And
I have everything muted, because in terms of that stuff, because I feel like I can find evidence of whatever I'm looking for. That's how it feels. It's like I can go back and forth between pro or not, and it's like one side or the other. And I just have this constant thing where I'm like, I actually, on the next record, we have a song. I have a song that I wrote, and I'm kind of scared of it. It's called American Jesus. And the whole premise of it, which I think, unless you grew up in church or you have a little bit of a background, the lyrics kind of give away that it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it feels like a very serious song.
Yeah.
So sometimes it feels like I am saying Jesus is American, which is the hook, but it comes from flipping back and forth between both sides, both on socials or the news. And I think what triggered it was flipping through cable and seeing one channel, literally one guy on one side, gives the speech and says, "And God bless America," as if their plan is God's plan.
Yeah.
And then moments later flipping to the other side and seeing the exact same thing. And I think I was pretty stoned, and I was like, to me, it just hit me where I was like, man, like, you know, whether you believe in God or not, I'm like, if that exists, if there is a God and there is this omnipotent being, it's like, I highly doubt that his plan falls perfectly into either of those categories. Do you know what I mean? So then I was like, to claim your plan as his felt absolutely insane to me on either side. So I was like, anyway, I wrote this song about it, but the reviews have been mixed from people that we've sent it to. They're like, I don't get it. Or they're like, this is offensive. And I'm like, it's not. I'm like, it's just discussing this in a way that is, you know, kind of making light of the fact that people are claiming their plan to be of a higher
God's
power.
on your side.
Yeah, it's like that God's on your side. I'm like, the arrogance of that is insane. It's like, you know, anyway.
I don't know what to make of it all these days. I mean, I went to do some shopping in Bellingham, which is, you know, Vancouver is obviously very close to the U.S. border, and the first city of any note is Bellingham, and it's very common for Vancouverites to go shopping in Bellingham, and because I'm diabetic, there's certain foodstuffs that I can get there that I can't get in Canada, and 3 days before the first set of tariffs were supposed to take effect, I was like, I better get my ass down there, and I got hassled at the border. Holy did I get you know, why are you going to the States? So I'm going to do some grocery shopping and then turn around and go home. You go all the way to Bellingham to do grocery shopping, which took me back because like everybody in Vancouver goes to Bellingham. It's not like it was some unusual event. It's something I've been doing for 50 years.
Yeah.
I said, well, yeah, like many Vancouverites, well, why can't you just show up in Vancouver? Like I was getting grilled about it. And he didn't believe I was a lawyer. Like, what do you do for a living, sir? And I was probably dressed like this.
Yeah,
like
you don't exactly fit the mold of lawyer.
No.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm an attorney, which is funny because usually when people ask me what I do for a living these days, I say I own a record company. It's I'm not that proud of being a lawyer, you know. But I'm an attorney, and he gives me this, gives you that look. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the next thing he says is, "Sir, roll down the back window of your car." And I'm like, "Oh no! Like, where is this going?"
Yeah.
Anyways, ended up being fine. I mentioned I was Nickelback's lawyer, and I said, if you got Google in your little kiosk there, just Google image Nickelback lawyer, which he did.
Yeah, and then he's like, shit.
And then he took another, he looked at the screen, he looked at me, he looked at the screen, okay, go.
Yeah.
You know, he let me go. Nickelback saves my ass again.
Yeah.
But I haven't gone back since. I haven't crossed the border since.
Yeah, I've only had one experience, and it was, you know, like, I was literally going down at the time. The person that I was seeing lived in Nashville, and it was in the summer, and I was up here. So I was going down for, I think, like 10 days. I had a 10-day gap, and I hit the border, and I actually had been working on the record we're putting out, the 10-Year War. And I had like an SM7B because I was doing like work tapes in the Airbnb that I was staying at. Kind of at night, just working through parts and just kind of going like, maybe I sing it like this, maybe I don't. And, you know, in Sudbury, like the place that I have there that I stay, it's like, well, I'm not going to go Toronto to Sudbury and then to drop off a microphone and a cable. It's like, I didn't have a guitar or anything. I just had like my laptop and a mic and a couple things and like maybe a little keyboard. And I got to the border, and I had my dog with me, and the guy's like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a musician, but I don't perform in the States. I don't make any money in the States. It's like, I don't work there. I'm there when I'm there. And then when I'm here, I work. And he was like, okay, open the trunk. And then he's like, roll down the window. And I got this big German Shepherd who's not happy to see him. And she's like panicking. She doesn't know what's happening. And he opens the trunk. He's like, what's with the gear in the back? And I'm like trying to explain, like, you know, like, he's like, well, like you're not playing down there, but you're bringing musical equipment. And I'm like, if you knew anything about musical equipment, you know that I'm not going to be performing with an SM7B and like a laptop on stage. It's like, that's not what I'm going to be doing.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to explain that. And it was a bit of a weird, it was just weird. That's the only time that I felt like, oh no, like this was just like the only time I've been questioned in that manner and kind of got detained. And I was just like, you know, and then you got to prove it. And then, so it's just a little weird, but outside of that, honestly, I've crossed probably like 15 times since then. And I've never once had a problem. In fact, it's been quite quite the opposite for me so far. It's been quite pleasant.
I'm going to get back on the horse here
yeah,
pretty soon.
yeah.
I need some supplies down there, but boy, it's
yeah.
weird after all these years
Yeah.
of crossing the border all the time. I'm like having like mini panic attack about going for.
And again, like because I can only base it on my experiences, sometimes I look at certain things that are in the news, and the news is to a degree sensationalized. You know, it's supposed to be like, pay attention. It's like bam, 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 bam. So stuff is happening, but sometimes I'm like, okay, how, you know, when I cross, like I have a return date because I have to work, or I have a session, or I have something, a festival. And I feel like some of the times when I've read these articles, like the title is like, you know, woman detained and deported and blah, blah, blah. But then you dig into it. It's like, well, she flew from like Canada to Mexico to try and enter the US, and she had no return date, and she didn't have a job. She had just quit her job. And it's like,
there's usually some reason.
Sometimes I'm like, guys, like, come on, like at least have a like if you're in defense of the people who are screening, it's like there has to be some logical explanation that doesn't raise a flag, it's like, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I think we should talk a little bit about your, like, what's upcoming. What is upcoming? Like,
basically every 8 to 9 weeks, we've been rolling out a song since January off of a project that I called the 10-Year War. So as long as we've been working together, I've been doing what at the time we would call like B-side kind of records, which it started out, I had a group of songs that didn't really belong in like mainstream country, kind of lived in the Americana space, the songwriter space. So we've been doing those, and this is the first time that we've kind of merged both of those things together, like the mainstream, and tried to make it a little bit more mainstream rather than acoustic guitar, singer, songwriter kind of thing. So the 10-Year War will be the umbrella that moving forward, all of those projects will just fall under that.
For those who don't know, I mean, when 10-Year War, like what's the context of that?
Yeah. So that title just, I'm basically in year 10 of being in the music industry. And if you've been in the music industry, it is at times a war, and it feels like you're fighting. I've kind of had this thing that's happened in my brain where when you have success to a degree, which I've been super thankful for at radio, and, I've been able to make a living most years as an artist, you begin to chase that. And it kind of, when you start out, like I can remember being 12 years old or 13 years old, maybe a little older, and getting like an old Mac and like messing around on GarageBand. And like, I'm up till 4 a.m, just like every chance I get, I'm writing songs because I love it, because I love creating art. And then at some point in time, this shift happens once you have a little bit of success and it becomes a job where you create this thing and then you hand it to somebody else to tell you what its worth is, which is a dangerous thing as an artist, because that is a good way to burn out, or a good way to begin to hate what you love. So kind of to tie back into the L is 4 thing, that was a passion project, which then sparked this passion project. And it's just a group of songs that I love. So we've been releasing them one by one every 8 weeks. We've seen significant growth in our followers on streaming platforms.
You're on the cover of Country Frontier on Spotify.
Yeah, which is
thank you, Spotify.
Yes, thank you. And
although all the DSPs have been supportive of you, they really have.
Yeah, they absolutely have. At the Between the Lines was the first song we put out, and we were on the cover of Today's Country, which is like the biggest, I think, country playlist in Canada. And they don't really reserve.
Is that Apple? I get confused.
That's Apple, yeah. So George was like, has been so supportive.
George is a big supporter.
Yeah, for the last 10
George
years.
Maniatis.
Yeah. And, he gave me the cover, and he even said, he goes, hey, we only really reserve this cover. Like maybe 3 artists in Canada get this, and
amazing.
A year. So it was huge, and we saw great numbers, and that song did really well. But yeah, we're just rolling it out piece by piece. We've kind of changed our approach. And yeah, we'll put the rest of this EP out. I think we just put a song out on Friday called Bibles in Hotel Rooms, which is kind of a stripped down song. That's the one that ended up giving me the cover of Country Frontier. Kind of an odd song for me to put out in the middle of summer, but it's just an acoustic, kind of feels like a one take. And yeah, it's just really songs that I connected with, and I hope other people do. And then we'll finish this EP off at the end of August. And then we've got another EP that we recorded prior to these 2 projects, actually, with a gentleman named Scott Cook. Scotty Chops worked with him a lot, and we're going to put that out and kind of roll it out in the same way. So we've got a lot of music that really the focus is building the audience, building the hard ticket sales. I've kind of changed, I've sat down with the marketing team here, and I've kind of just started to think just on the business side, like, okay, if we have X amount of dollars, where are we spending those dollars? How can we maximize what we're doing? And when we did this acoustic tour, the last acoustic tour, which was the first one I'd ever done headlining by myself, I saw as soon as I started marketing, using the dollars, like I did one round of ads. And then the second time around in the markets that were struggling, I went, okay, what is the like who takes up most of the pie? And that's where I got that stat of like whatever it is, 26 to 41-year-old women make up 70% of my market.
Yeah.
So then I went, okay, let's spend the money there specifically. That's it. We're going to target those people in these cities. And then all those shows ended up selling out. So on this, as we roll stuff out, we're rolling ads, one, only in markets that we've been to recently or that we're going to and in that demographic. So that when we get there, then we see, there's brand recognition or name recognition. So then when we go on sale, we're seeing that translate. So we're kind of in this thing, and it seems to be working, and it's just a different approach than what we've done. It's a little more narrowed, but it feels like it's hitting home. So, there's a lot of learning on these last two projects, and I'm hoping that carries through when we put this next. This is like a full band. We cut it in Nashville, and we'll go to radio with a couple of the songs up there. That is very much built for that world, but we're getting through this 10-year war project, which has been received really well.
Tour-wise, anything you want to mention?
We're going to be doing, because we did kind of Ontario into, like, we didn't go far east, but like Ontario up to basically like Montreal area on that last run. And then we're going out, I think there's 15 or 16 dates in October that will be essentially like, trying to think of what the furthest east is, but essentially like Winnipeg out to Vancouver Island and kind of up and back and hitting all.
And when's the time period again?
It looks to be October 15th to the 1st or 3rd of November.
All right. So those of you listening or watching, you should be, if you go to Andrew's socials, you go to 604 socials, where else would there be links?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like theandrewhyatt.com. You'll see like advertising in your market if we're coming there. But that's the plan. And again, just kind of building off what we've been working on and just trying to build hard tickets. And the music really lends itself to kind of a storyteller aspect on this tour. So
are you playing Vancouver?
We are, yeah.
Do you know where?
I believe the plan is, who knows, it may change, but I think it's the Fox Cabaret. Is like where we're going to be.
Not too far from where we're sitting right now.
Yeah. So
just so you know, for that show, I'm not the guy with the laser pointer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. Great.
Want to clarify?
Yeah.
You know how many times I've made that joke in my there's two stupid jokes I always make to artists. That's one of them. And the other one is right before they're going on stage, if I'm backstage, is that what you're wearing?
I've seen that rattle a few guys, not just from you, but Nick Minema also uses that. If you know Nick Minema, there's a legendary story with, I think it was Nick with Dallas actually, where they were opening up for Keith Urban. And literally Nick, like before everybody went on, he was like, but I don't think he was joking. That's the best thing. Cause they were just it was just kind of taken off as like the country aspect from what I understand of the show. And Nick goes, is that what you're wearing, to one of the guys? And like, it just like, it burned a hole in his brain,
so
and it just like rattled. I think it rattled him to the end of him playing with Dallas, which is incredible.
A horrible thing to say.
Yeah. But I think Nick was serious, which is the best part. He's like, you guys
he was serious.
He's like, you guys got to look like musicians, not like you're going shopping. So it's like Nick, brutally honest, but the best guy. Yeah.
That's
I love him.
funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to give just a 2-second shout out just for the sake of, my marriage. We were talking about my wife, Jennifer's cousin. So shout out to Christine and Daryl, who are in Sudbury as we speak right now. And anything else like promotion wise or?
No, that's pretty much it. That kind of like takes up, we're going to be in Kelowna playing some stuff out there for the CCMAs, and
I will be there.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
I will be at the 604 showcase. I'm also speaking on the Friday.
Oh, nice.
And then I'm getting the hell out of there because I hate award shows. So I think Jen and I are going to go up to a Soyuz, which is a beautiful spot in the Okanagan.
Beautiful.
But I'm glad I'm going to at least be able to see you guys play. And
I also hate award shows, but I love I love the community, but I hate the when art and business collide. It's not my favorite. But
I don't even think of that as business. Like to me, I mean, some of the ugliest you will ever see in this business, I'm telling you, is the behind the scenes of award shows.
Yeah.
The fighting, the the backstabbing. I mean, hell, even that tweet that got me in trouble was all about that. It was all about what people don't see with an award show, what goes on behind the scenes,
how the voting works, who's casting.
Not to mention the idiocy of the whole thing. It's like, and the award for best song. What the does that even mean? I mean, it'd be like having like an award show for ice cream, and the award for best ice cream goes to vanilla. Well, I like chocolate, man. Like it's subjective. Art is subjective, and the whole idea. So that's why I always like the Billboard Awards, because they're objective.
Yeah,
most radio play, most tickets sold, most. At
based
least there's no debate.
Based on a metric,
and there's no room for major label pulling their votes together to like all that.
That's something that people don't understand, right? And I've had to explain that to a few people because they're like, oh, like it's so great. It's like, but it's like, yeah, but if a major label, say 604 is in the running, it's like, to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, your staff is allowed to get memberships, which allow them to vote.
Yep.
But if you are an indie label and you only have, I don't know how many staff are on staff here, but let's say it's 10, just for simplicity's sake, versus someone like Universal Music, it's like, and Warner and Sony, it's like, well, those people have a larger staff.
Yes.
So then they have more votes. So if it's a 1-to-1 vote, which is my understanding, it's like
you have no chance.
You have no chance.
Well, and allegedly, hear me say that, don't sue me. Labels will, even majors will work together sometimes. Like major number one will be, okay, you have a better shot at like the best new artist with this,
because we don't have one this year.
So we'll get our people to all vote for, and it's just like, really? Like, is that, because let's face it, like awards are nice, and we've won a bunch 604, and that's, even that thing this year.
I've won a CCMA, and it was, luckily because.
Well, you know how much that cost me?
Yeah.
It's a joke. It's a little joke.
Tell me more. No, I'm just
right.
kidding. It was, but I mean, again, we had Warner in our corner on that.
True.
That was the first year we went with them.
True.
And then I also know that we had someone else in our corner at another place at the time that also holds a lot of votes. And so it was just like.
It's tough.
Yeah. And was it great to win? Yeah, it was. But it also, you kind of do this thing where it's like.
Now what?
Yeah. Well, for instance, that year, Josh Ross was in the category with me that I won.
Yeah.
And yes, he was just kind of building, but he was also on tour with Nickelback at that time.
Yep.
And it's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think I literally said to him at the end of it, I was like, I'll trade you. Because like, I'd way rather be on tour with Nickelback. That's way better for my career.
And that is 100% the point to me, is that there's a lot more important things than that and in a career.
Yeah.
It's nice for the resume. It looks good on a resume. Yeah. I mean, even this year, like Billboard named me the 7th most influential label person in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. Did my ego get a bit of a jolt? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
it is nice to celebrate.
Did I show my kids?
Yeah.
Of course I showed my kids. But you know what?
Yeah.
Has it changed anything? Yeah. Will it change? Does it actually inherently mean anything? I don't know.
It can help. It doesn't hinder, but it's like, I feel like as I get older in the music industry, like I'm 38, which is not old, but it's, in country, it's actually kind of a good age.
Yes. Correct.
But now there's a lot of younger guys who are up and coming. And I feel like I was blessed with having guys like Dallas and Scott kind of come in who had been through it.
Yes.
And kind of mentored and kind of like talked me through certain things, the wins and the losses. And now like, I've got buddies that were nominated this year who are significantly younger or newer in the industry. Yeah. And I, the text that I sent out to them, I said, hey, congratulations on your nomination, but I just want you to know, like, go into this in this way, is that the win is that you're in the conversation.
Yes.
Because you're creating art that people are talking about.
Yes.
I said, win or lose, go in and just enjoy the weekend. But the win is not, like, winning or losing is not going to be what keeps you making music for the next 10 years. It's head down, work hard, build great relationships, because there's going to be wins and losses. It's like those things don't matter. But sometimes as an artist, if nobody tells you that, you're thinking of it like, if I lose, then I'm a loser. It's like this, or like you have this thing where you want it so bad, but it's like, that actually doesn't do anything. Like, I think the first year I lost, which I think I've lost 3 or 4 times in categories. Maybe I think it's 3 times. So don't fact check me on it, but it feels like that. like, I think the first time I won, Dallas pulled me aside and he said, hey, just so you know, like the first year I was nominated, I lost to this person and they're not even in the music industry anymore. And now he's in that year, you know, whatever he was the highest grossing country artist in Canada.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's like,
yeah,
you know, it's like, it doesn't part the river, or it doesn't send you on a trajectory that is, I don't know what the word is, but it's nothing's final about those things.
No. And you're right. I mean, I know lots of artists who, like, I remember going to the CCMAs and I've only been, I mean, I can't remember the guy's name even.
Was he an artist?
Yeah. From Saskatchewan.
Oh, okay.
And,
not Brad Rempel from High Valley. No. I don't know if they're from Saskatchewan.
It doesn't even matter at this point, but like, I mean, the point is, I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
Like, what does that tell you? He won the CCMA for male, and God bless him. I'm not trying to diss the guy, but it's just like, you know, it just goes to show you, you know, he won the award that night, and here we are maybe 10 years later. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. Well, listen, like, this is the thing again. It's like, I have peers in the industry who have had multiple number ones in Canada. And in certain circles, when I'm just meeting people, they're like, oh, like, who do you know? Blah, blah. And you say the name and they're like, I have no idea who that is. But then you play the song and they go, oh, I know that. But that is just indicative of Canada. And they're not really being like, you know, maybe 20 years ago when Much Music was popping off and CMT was popping off, people would look at that, and then it kind of built the star system. But as corporations came in and bought stuff and kind of dismembered all of that star system, it's like, it's kind of changed from the days when, you know, someone like Headley could come in and be this band that sold out all across Canada and do the thing because they were put in front of people as stars. It's like, that's what it was. It was like, it built us up in a way that was different back then. So
it's funny you mentioned Headley today. I don't know if you saw that the hockey players were acquitted.
Oh, I didn't see that. No.
Yes, they were found not guilty today. Which, not to start that could be a whole podcast on its own, but I was fascinated by it. I've been following that so closely, and thought that was pretty. It'll be interesting to see the sort of reverberations that come out from that, good and bad. I mean, not guilty, but it sure didn't come across very well in that.
Not guilty, but it didn't look good.
No, why? You know what I call that? I call it a Gomeshi acquittal. When like Gian Gomeshi got acquitted, but it's like his career was kind of over because everybody saw everything, and the PR fallout is not. There's no redemption. No, there isn't. So, but okay. Well, listen. Thank you for doing this. So check out Andrew's website. Check out 604 if you want to get more information about what's going on with him. Thank you everybody for watching, and Alex, who is our recorder here today. You keep that camera rolling. We're going to have a hug, and we're going to do it on camera. On camera for the proof.